Hey folks, Matt from artoftheimage.com. As you know, if you've been watching the channel, we've been discussing the newly introduced G1X Mark III from Canon, the Canon G1X Mark III. And it's an interesting beast, APS-C 24 megapixel fixed lens camera. It's got a very low amount of competition in the sense of there's not too many manufacturers that are giving us a fixed lens, all-in-one fixed lens camera, an all-rounder, with this largest sensor, with an APS-C sensor. These days, it tends to be pretty much a 1-inch sensor, and pretty good 1-inch sensors. But we don't have this option to have an APS-C sensor. This is the sensor out of the 77D, out of the 80D, out of the M5. Basically, the exact same sensor. You know, it's a 24 megapixel APS-C. That's the 1.6 crop sensor from Canon. That's in all the Rebels and the non-full frame cameras. So a very competent sensor. And we've discussed some strengths here, and we've discussed some weaknesses of the two videos, the 14 reasons you might want to consider this camera, and then I had 5 reasons, I think fairly significant reasons why you might not want to, the counterpoints to that. But we've had some really interesting viewer feedback. I was actually going through some really good points that were made on DP Review on their article introducing this camera. And so people had some really interesting points I wanted to share with you, the ones that I thought were most significant. Let me get my glasses on here. OGL had commented that it's expensive, ugly, and very weak battery and slow lens. So these 3 of these anyways, I personally don't really think the camera's ugly, but obviously that's a subjective thing. But expensive, yes, especially for the price versus value proposition. Very weak battery, I pointed that out, and a slow lens, I pointed that out as well. I also made the point that for such a slow lens, for a variable aperture lens of this nature, it's actually a limited range too. If you're going to make the lens that slow, you could have at least given us like a 24 to 120. You could even give us a 24 to 200 for such a slow lens. Nico Boston says, whatever the specifications, I will never give $1,300 for a compact camera. The tiny SL2 body costs $500. It is incredibly more versatile. This new G1X is certainly a decent camera, but why spending $1,300 for a not-so-compact camera with fixed lens and slow 3 times lens? So, good points. Nico Boston is saying, as I was saying about the price, he's pointing out the SL2 from Canon, very capable, very good camera for $500. And, that's even an option. I was looking at the 77D or the 80D in comparison, but you could get the SL2 new for $500. You could add quite a set of nice lenses and fast primes on there, still for far under the, at or under the $1,300 price point of this fixed lens, slow lens camera. And so I would say, yeah, that's probably where I would steer people, is something like the SL2 over something like this. So, good point there, flushing out the whole thing of value for the price. And he said, he would never give $1,300 for a compact camera. I would in certain, areas. Like the RX10 from Sony, I think is a great offering for the price if it meets your needs and for video and whatnot, which is very strong video camera. But I certainly can't fault him for saying he'd never, especially for this camera anyways. And the SL2 is a great option. Jeff Jeeb comments, why no 4K for such an expensive camera? 7 frames per second only in continuous mode? Olympus and Fuji or other mirrorless are way more advanced. Come on, Canon, no wow factor. I'm going to start selling all my Canon gears. Time to shift to Nikon and Fuji. So good points here. The lack of 4K I had already pointed out, and I think it's a major failing on Canon's part to not have it in this camera. And, he's pointing out that the speed isn't great in continuous mode in comparison. And he's pointing out that the competition is much more advanced. And that's where I'm saying with the 4K, like it or not, it should be in there because the competition has it. And not only that, we've got a lot better options from the competition for less than this price. Or when you're spending this price, you're getting way more camera, like in a Sony or something. So good points, from Jeff Jeeb. Photochem Photo. For this price, it should have been full frame. And that's an interesting point because I think they could have. This is a premium price. You could have made this a full frame camera at $1,300. Then you would have rocked some boats. Then you would have, fired a shot across the bows of the competition. That would have been a really interesting offering. But it's not. It's still interesting with this sensor size. But for the price, good point. It could have been full frame. We've got Steve Digiphoto writing, slow lens and ugly. Would rather have an X100F or an XE3 plus a 23mm for less money. Sure, the dual pixel AF is nice though. So he's making the point that, yeah, the dual pixel AF is great, which I have said I really like the dual pixel AF. But when you combine everything else, it kind of overweighs it. We don't have 4K. He's saying it's ugly. He doesn't like the looks of it, which is subjective, but not the first person to say so. Slow lens, which is a valid point that I made. This is a very slow variable aperture lens with a limited range for being so slow. And here's some great options from Fuji, an X100F or an XE3 with a 23mm for less money. Again, we have better options out there from the competition, from Canon's own lineup for a lot less money. Paul Rumor writes, as ugly and clunky as sin. So another person that doesn't like the look of it, doesn't like the design. So interesting there. And we got a little bit of a counterpoint here. We got IAEAAEIA. That's their YouTube, or not. I don't know if that's their YouTube. That's their commenter name on here. It's not so expensive if we consider the competition, and if it does great with so-so features, full HD only but less rolling shutter, for example. But in my opinion, it doesn't look attractive and could offer a brighter lens for the short range, f2.8 to 4.8. Or the camera could be a little cheaper. I don't know, but if I had the money and was looking for a large sensor built-in zoom, non-retro style camera, this one wouldn't be it. So actually, he's not really putting a counterpoint in. He's agreeing that, really for the value, for money you're paying here, it's not good value. Then we've got Just Me MN, the APS-C compact competition. The Fuji X100F and Ricoh GR2 don't have any zoom at all. They are all fixed lens, fixed focal length cameras. And then TKBSIC said, the X100 has a much faster lens and a unique viewfinder, and the Ricoh is much cheaper. So counterpoints to the fact that we have a zoom here. Better lens, unique viewfinder, and then the Ricoh is a cheaper camera to begin with. Then we've got Scott Hunter. Here's a counterpoint. This is the camera I've been waiting for, a fixed lens version of the EOS M5. This should be a great upgrade for someone coming from a 1-inch compact such as the G7X or G5X who want to step up in IQ but don't want the inconvenience and additional expense of interchangeable lenses. The moisture sealing body is also a welcome addition. And I think I forgot to point that out. That should have been in my list. Maybe that was 15 points to consider, but it is moisture sealed. That is a good thing. It's weather sealed. My counterpoint to that would be, yes, I hear what you're saying here. It is a good option, but some major failings here. Slow lens, whereas the M5, you can change lenses and you have options for faster lenses, and no 4K. So, competition is getting you there. So, interesting comments and feedback. Seems to be predominantly negative so far, what I'm hearing back on what people are, how they're feeling about this offering from Canon, if they're interested in buying it or whatnot. It seems to be coming down on the side of the 5 counterpoints I did to whether or not you should buy it, and that is basically that for the value, the specs just aren't there to justify this kind of money on this camera, which is sad because I would have liked to seen it a very strong offering because it is an APS-C camera. What do you guys think? Are you in generally more along the lines of the negative, or we had, I think, one person here who was fairly positive on it, Scott Hunter. Which way do you fall on this? Let me know in the comments below. Let's continue to discuss it. Have we missed something here that's significant that why we should consider this camera for the price? Have I missed something that's another failing of the camera for the price? Let me know in the comments below. Let's discuss it. Let me know what you think and why. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and stay tuned. We'll be back soon here at artoftheimage.com.